like the video. It helps spread the word and grow this fine program. So while you hit the like button, we're going to hit the headlines. The top dogs, well, they just love to be on top. Not only is Georgia #1 on the field, they're also number 1 when it comes to money spent for recruiting. A USA Today report says UGA spent $4.5 million on recruiting in 2022. That's over $1.5 million more than the next highest spenders, Texas A&M, and $2 million more than Alabama. Blair, I mean, it's working if it ain't broke, right?
Yeah, and the Bulldogs certainly aren't broke. These are certainly different layers to the recruiting process. You talk about effort, relationships, winning, NFL development, but having the biggest budget is nice too. And to catch up to Georgia on the field, it might be wise for other schools to bring that investment up in recruiting as well.
All right, the #1 player in the 2019 class has found a new home. Brian Doan reports that Antonio Alfano is now at Lackawanna College in Pennsylvania. He originally signed with Alabama back in 2019 and has stops at Colorado and another JUCO. Now, looking back to his early recruitment, Blair, what made him stand out as the nation's top player?
Yeah, a blast from the past. Alfano had a tremendous motor as a defensive end, the size and the tools that you look for in a prototypical pass rusher. And remember, the 2019 class had the likes of Trayvon Walker, Kayvon Thibodeau, Derek Stingley, Kyle Hamilton, just to name a few. So that speaks to the type of prospect Alfano was on the field.
All right, we have a top 4 for top 247 wide receiver Keelan Adams. It's Penn State, West Virginia, Va-Tech, and Pitt. Now, this is per our Brian Doan. What kind of pass catcher does one of these schools get, Blair?
Yeah, an explosive pass catcher. He has elite vision in the open field. He flashes really, really good body control. And the winning school will get a productive player, too. Adams had 16 touchdowns and over 1,000 receiving yards as a junior last fall.
The #3 running back in 2024 told Steve Wiltfong that he plans to play both football and baseball in college. He visited Michigan and Texas back in January and most recently taking a trip to Duke. Blair, what kind of athlete is Taylor Tatum?
Certainly one of the best athletes the state of Texas has to offer in the 2024 recruiting cycle. Tatum averaged over 8 yards per carry as a junior, and our guy Gabe Brooks calls him an instinctive lane finder. So that's the perfect description for a really good running back that just seems to play the game at a different speed.
All right, let's welcome in our director of recruiting, Steve Wiltfong. Steve, we have hit the dead period, so not a ton of intel, but you've been still busy handing out some awards. We're going to have more on that in just a bit. But first, what's the latest on 4-star interior offensive lineman Jordan Seaton's visit to Georgia?
Well, it was an eye-opening visit for him to get down there and spend some time with the defending 2-time national champs. Ohio State was the program that I pegged as the one to beat in the fall for Jordan Seaton. But he's obviously considering a lot of other programs, and I think the visit to Athens moved the needle for the Bulldogs as they have the #1 recruiting class in the country, and Jordan Seaton is an offensive lineman that I could ultimately see in the fold for them down the road. Obviously, Ohio State's still well positioned. He said he's going to be planning some spring visits, so look for that schedule to be out there soon. But Georgia, definitely a major contender for Jordan Seaton following his visit there at the end of January.
Steve, 4-star defensive lineman Nigel Smith is one of the most coveted players at his position with close to 40 scholarship offers. He recently cut his list down to 16, but there are more schools trying to get involved and get in the mix there with him. What's the latest in the recruitment of Nigel Smith?
Well, he has his first visit of the spring setup. Nigel's going to be at Texas Tech for what should be a big recruiting weekend for the Red Raiders, the first weekend of March. And Joey McGuire and Texas Tech, they have the nation's #7 recruiting class early in the cycle. Just finished with the #26 class, which is their highest recruiting ranking in 24/7 Sports history this past cycle. Had some big wins during the fall, including a victory over the Longhorns. Now they're looking for some big wins on the recruiting trail. They're going to bring Nigel Smith in the first weekend of March. Oklahoma is a program that's always been well positioned for him. He's been on a lot of college visits over the last year. Alabama, Penn State, Texas A&M, Ohio State, to name a few others. All the big hitters are in the mix in this one, but his relationship with Joey McGuire, Texas Tech, and that staff has him taking a hard look at the Red Raiders.
We are rocking and rolling here on the show, but if you're just joining us, please submit your questions. The only way you do that is if you are subscribed to the 24/7 Sports channel. All right, 4-star running back James Peoples released a top 6 and has visits planned once the dead period officially ends. So, Steve, what are you hearing from his camp?
Yeah, this is one of the most sought-after running backs in the country. He's going to visit Ohio State at the end of March, has a great relationship with Tony Alford, building one with Brian Hartline and Ryan Day over there loves Ohio State's player development position and offense. And that program that I think is very prominent in the top 6 that he released today that also included Alabama, Oklahoma, Oregon, Texas, and TCU. He took visits to Texas and Oklahoma in January. Both were outstanding trips. He loves DeMarco Murray. He loves Tashard Choice. He's excited to get out to Alabama. He's excited to get out to Oregon. And TCU was one of the first schools to identify him and offer him. They had him in camp in the summer prior to junior year, extended him a scholarship, and he's been building his longest relationship with them. But Ohio State, they were in shortly after, and I think that they're well positioned with James Peoples as well.